You're listening to What Made You, the podcast that goes beyond the music and dives deep into the moments that shaped it. Join host Deanna Marie as she sits down with artists and creatives to uncover the risks, the setbacks, and the experiences that made them who they are today. The story behind the spotlight starts now.
Some artists chase the spotlight. Others become musicians that other musicians cannot stop talking about. And today's guest spent years building a really respected career in Nashville, both on stage and behind the scenes, while creating a story that is uniquely his own. Singer-songwriter and guitarist Ben Graves joins me today.
Hey,
Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. You're totally easy to talk to. I love it.
Oh, thank you. I think the same about you. I mean, you're such a great conversationalist. And, you know, the first time we met, I was so impressed by everything that you had accomplished. And there was so much to talk about. And I almost felt like, you know, just not enough time. So I'm really happy we get to sit down again.
Likewise. Yeah. No, my life has been a series thus far, so it's ongoing, thankfully, of some pretty idiotic chapters, but they're nothing if not entertaining, I promise. So
that they are. Well, the last time that you and I spoke, you told me a story about how your parents had you start on a piano in church and you sort of bombed it. But that didn't seem to faze you. I mean, was it that moment where you, because I remember you mentioning how you like started a couple octaves too low and then you ran out of piano. But was that maybe a moment that kind of helped you decide that like music was something you wanted to pursue? Because I mean, that was a pretty traumatic experience that could get a lot of kids to say, you know what, I'm giving up.
I love a challenge. Yeah, when I was, so my folks, I mean, I forgive me for getting all woo on you here in a second, but my folks were both pianists. My dad is still with us and he still plays the piano and goes for it, man. He is fearless. And they started me when I was 5, and I had a church recital, yes, and I started the piece 2 octaves low. I mean, I guess I like the low range of the piano because I started way down there. And at some point I ran out of keyboard and you know, for a 7-year-old, however traumatic an experience can be, this was a traumatic experience for me. And I just got up and went back to my seat and I was just like, man, you know, piano. No, we're done with the piano.
Forget it. I'm done.
No. The parents' idea was a bad one. And then like 3 years later, there was a guitar floating around and I picked that up and my sister was studying guitar. And so I had to study the guitar and then I started band, saxophone and all that. But I'll share with you a little, this is gratuitous, but when I scuba dive, this is a passion of mine. And so we finally got to do the Red Sea. A buddy of mine and I did a liveaboard in the Red Sea in January, and we were coming back and I had taken this crappy little clunky travel guitar that broke down into a neck and a body and it fit in the overhead. It was called the overhead. You notice I'm saying was because I left it in the overhead appropriately. In Switzerland, when I was like, been up for 24 hours, I was jet lagged. I forgot the freaking guitar. I didn't really care about it. $400 gone. I don't care. And then I get to O'Hare and I'm like 36 hours, no sleep, you know, and there was one of those pianos in the terminal. And I just sort of said, you know, I don't give a damn. And I sat down fearlessly, just sort of played. And I didn't care that there were all these people and that some jackwagon sat down after me and totally smoked my butt. You know, I didn't care. It felt so right. And I got home and that night I just woke up in the middle of the night and I'm like, I'm supposed to be playing piano. So I've been putting in like 2 hours a day working on Beethoven sonatas. And I'm really in this mindset right now. I'm really into a lot of romantic era piano music.
Wow.
Yeah, it's consuming me. It's so beautiful, man. Just when you think you've got Beethoven figured out, like you don't, you know, it's just,
That is just so wild that like after all these years you were able to revisit it and you're
All
like
these years. Yeah.
discovering this love. Well, I mean, I kind of understand because when I was younger, my parents like forced me to practice piano and stick with it. And you
Right.
never want to do what your parents are trying to make you do. But now today I kind of wish I had those skills. So like I really like think that's admirable that you're like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a go again.
Well, it is, there is a professional development aspect to it because I am a music educator. I'm a career music educator. And
Yeah.
the longer time goes on, the more I love that role. And I see it as a sort of, I don't know, somehow cosmically appropriate. I'm a music nerd. I'm always going to be chasing the next thing. And if I get locked into performing or a road gig with an artist or whatever, it can get very static. And so I prefer the role of the music educator, but yeah, I'm a total nerd. So it just kind of tracks. But no complaints. Yeah, I kind of wish I'd stuck with it, but but here we are. It's never too late. So
It all comes back around, I guess.
let's hope so. Yeah, I'm banking on it.
Do you recall a moment when you were younger that music went from being something that you just really enjoyed to something that you knew you could not live without?
Yeah, I mean, at every juncture, I don't know. I'm one of these people, like, music. I don't know. It's always been like that. Like, music makes me cry. Music affects me emotionally. My ex-wife, I've had partners, exes that just kind of didn't understand that like this or that didn't affect me emotionally, but then I'll start tearing up at a certain song, and it's just always resonated with me. I did a lot of acting when I was younger and somehow that never stuck, but I just could never get away from the people making music. And, I hear two car horns and I'm like, oh man, that's a major seventh. That's beautiful. I'm a nerd. I can't, my ex-wife used to ask me what I'm thinking about. I'm like, B major 7, D7, G major 7, E flat dominant 7, resolving to E flat major 7, and then a 2-5 back to G. This is giant steps. I just like, nobody wants to hang out with me. Yeah.
Is there, you mentioned, music just makes you emotional. And I completely understand that. Like, is there a particular song that you can think of that every time you hear it, you're just tears welling up in your eyes?
I mean, there are a few of them, really. And I tell students in survey classes, like I always have them say, as a group, music is subjective. It's like my little modus vivendi. It's my little mantra that I, drill into their heads over the course of the semester, because I think it's the one absolute thing we can think about music. And here's why. When you were in your crib, when you were 2, maybe your parents blasted you with a tune. And like, to use a situation appropriate for today, maybe it's Baby Shark. Maybe it's the worst tune ever conceived. But that song has, it just strikes a string in your heart or whatever. Yeah. And so you can't get away from that. There's a tune by Sarah Bareilles. So this is multi-tiered. I lost my mom in 2021, and my daughter had been in a T-Pack production of Waitress, the Sarah Bareilles musical, which we all love, which is genius, beautiful.
Yeah.
And, there's a tune called, maybe you know it, Soft Place to Land. It's just a gorgeous, shimmering tune.
Yeah.
And the first line is, sometimes I still see her, my mother, the dreamer. I'm thinking about this, like, and it has little sugar, butter, that little kind of obligato or whatever you'd call it that keeps returning throughout the song.
Yeah.
And I hear that stuff now, man, that any of that stuff from Waitress comes on and I hear sugar, butter, flour, and I'm just a puddle. I mean, it's over.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with it coinciding with my mom, and so there's a multi-tier connection to that tune. But Yeah, I mean, I was listening to Supertramp last week, and I was just thinking, I still love this song. Take the Long Way Home. It's like, that's a beautiful tune.
Yeah.
Dueling
Yeah.
clarinets and harmonica. You got a clarinet and a harmonica, like trading. I
Yeah.
mean, AI, man. AI can't touch this crap, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great point to make because we are in this world, unfortunately, where, AI is taking over a lot of things. And I think it can be helpful as a tool, but I don't think it's good to overuse it because it's replacing creativity. And I literally just read before we sat down, I read something that said using AI for just a few minutes a day can completely start to diminish your own creativity and focus and your ability to critically think. And I mean, it just makes so much sense.
I don't disagree. I mean, to say
Yeah.
nothing of the environmental impacts or whatever, we could go on and on. And it's important to remember that it's the basis for a lot of apps now. So it's going on behind the scenes, whether we like it or not. But, as an educator, like critical thinking and problem solving are going out the window, man.
Yeah.
I mean, young people just aren't. My daughter, I see my daughter doing this. She just defaults to AI, let's ask AI, and I'm like, let's not, you know,
Yeah.
but that's her go-to. And I mean, I shared this with her, and I've conveyed to her how much I think is important that she keep, using her brain to solve problems, because these are the skills that help you, as you grow up, as you
Yeah.
navigate life, improvisation, like problem solving. A lot of musicians that I know are capable humans because they're good at improvisation. They're good at solving problems on the fly,
Yeah.
and AI takes care of that for you. I don't know. I'm not too fatalistic about it because it doesn't really affect me. I'm going to keep on creating. I'm going to keep, this is my compass, the musical circle of fifths. And it's like, I'm going to keep teaching that. I'm going to keep sharing that, the passion that I have for it, with younger people, usually who have the same passion for it. People of all ages. I have people come to me and say, I want to learn music. I want to learn the language of music, or I want to learn guitar or whatever. And the only reason I want to teach them is because they're passionate about it.
Yeah.
I'm doing all right with my career. I don't really need anything, but I thrive on people being passionate about this. And when you have, I don't know I guess what I'm saying is I'm always looking for a certain amount of curiosity and a certain amount of effort that someone's willing to put into getting this thing, and the AI thing just sort of, it answers your question. It makes it so easy. And I don't think it's the same experience. I don't think you enjoy the same reward when you don't work for it to a certain extent.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, there's even time I feel like that notion can be applied to so many different parts of life. Like, I don't feel like I take as much pride in my living space when I have someone else clean it as when I clean it myself. Like, it's the same thing with AI. It's like, if you're going to rely on someone else to do the job, I feel like you don't appreciate it as much.
I agree. I think, it's, as has been said, it's the process, it's the journey, it's not the destination. And now we really, there's so much immediate gratification everywhere. I mean, it is what it is. I guess I'm lucky in that I enjoy the process. I really enjoy playing the guitar. I'm not like, man, let's get this demo done so we can go, get lunch and have drinks or whatever. No, man, I want to play more guitar,
Yeah.
play music. Let's do it. So it's the process. Yeah, I went to a jam session last night. I had a blast. I wasn't getting paid. This is what I like to do. So, and there are still, and that's what I keep telling young people is like, if you don't absolutely love this in 2026, be a veterinarian, or be a postal worker, be a doctor, be a lawyer, do something else.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about the money or the lack thereof. I'm just saying it's not going to fulfill you. But if you love it and you have to do it, then you have to do it. And I still meet those young people who are just like, oh, music is my life. I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, it's my life. I'm like, well, then you got to do it. You know?
Yeah.
No
it's such a great point to make. And you have spent so much time, diving into this passion of yours and in all aspects. I mean, you've been an artist, a sideman, a session player, an educator, a songwriter. Is there a certain role in your life that you've played that feels most authentically like you?
I mean, I playing guitar, I guess. I came through I did the sax player thing. At some point, it was like in my grad school, during my grad school career. I mean, I went to grad school for saxophone, and I got an assistantship. And Dr. Greg Yazanitsky, maybe the only person I could call a mentor at Washington State University, cool dude that he is, my dude. He agreed at some point. He was like, I said, I'm really like fascinated by the guitar. I really want to switch to guitar as my principal instrument. Yeah. And I'll never forget the look that he gave me. It was just like, what? But he agreed to do it. And he said, let me take the weekend and think about this. And he came back and he said, all right, but you're going to play a 45-minute classical jury. And I had to memorize a whole program of Bach on classical guitar. And I had to play with the jazz big band for the 2 years. I mean, he kicked my butt. But ever since, I think that was the point at which I realized, like, I like the guitar because it gives me harmony. I love chords. I love a beautiful sounding, rich chord.
Well, we've established that that's where you feel most authentically like yourself. Is there a career decision that you've made that kind of felt a little risky at the time, but maybe turned out to be one of the best moves you ever made? Because you've gone through so many different avenues.
I'm lucky. I come from a solidly middle class background, but I will concede all day long that I'm lucky to have been able to choose music pretty much at every juncture. But I never thought about it, man. Money has never been anywhere near as interesting as music for me. I chose not to follow these guys that I was playing with in high school who went on to become the rock band Fuel, and yeah. I don't care. I hung out with them on their tours later. And every time I'd go see them, it's like, oh, this rocks. I don't really care about it. My head has always been somewhere else. And education has allowed me to be selfish, to be musically selfish. It puts you in a position where you can sort of be a researcher, for your career, for your life. And at some point when I realized that, it was like, well, there's no turning back because, and I've made money as a musician. And at some point I gave up those opportunities to do something else that I was more, and I've worked, don't get me wrong, I've worked jobs, but I've been lucky enough to be able to usually choose a job that has something to do with music. I spent a couple of years working in the financial industry. When I got out of grad school, I moved to San Francisco and I worked for ING Bearings, and they wanted me to be a stock trader. They were like, we think you have a lot of potential. We'd like for you to take your Series 7 and, become a trader on the West Coast Exchange. And we'd like to fly you to New York to meet the head honcho, and I was like, well, I like that last part, so I let him send me to New York. And the whole time I'm like, I'm not going to be a stock trader,
Yeah.
And I saw how much money there was a guy in the back of the suite with a $2 billion fund. It's like, I don't care, that's never really had, I'm fascinated by the concept of sort of an income, a sustaining income, which is in a range where people are able to live comfortably, and enjoy certainly the social services that they need or whatever. But as my buddy Travis Vance, who's Thomas Rhett's music director, often says, more money, more problems. And so, I know that after a certain point, money becomes a liability. And sure, I'd like to make a little bit more here or there, or, I'm fine with where I am now. I see so many people and later in life, and it seems like they wish they'd done something else, I don't want to be like that. So, Yeah. I do believe that if you apply yourself and you're happy and you're nurturing positivity in what you're doing for a career and, even an avocation, that eventually maybe money will come.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of cases it does. And I know there are people who don't have this luxury, the middle class luxury of being able to pursue arts. But I love it when I see people that are just, undeterred, man. They're just, oh no, this is for me. Yeah, I'm sleeping in a cardboard box behind Best Buy, but life is good. I got a gig,
Yeah.
I can relate.
Yeah. Well, and you have like done such an incredible job of finding that perfect balance, because you do have I think a much more stable lifestyle than a lot of people who come to Nashville and like do the grind and like try to make it happen, and you mentioned like being a professor of music. What, aside from like being able to just kind of have that like reliable constant in your life, what has that afforded you the ability to do when it comes to pursuing your music?
Generally in academia, you are expected to sort of publish and continue your craft, whatever that is.
Mhm.
And so for me, I put out a record that I can still listen to a year and a half ago or a year ago or whenever I don't know. I think there's been more gratification just sort of on the humanitarian front or whatever. Like, I feel like academia has, it's allowed me to continue to try and be a more cultured, open-minded person. And, I'm with Charlie Hayden. Like, you want to be a better musician, take a walk in the woods. I think I've met precious few people who are absolute jerks that are great musicians. I mean, most of the time they sort of correlate. Someone is happy with their own life. They're telegraphing positivity. That's going to come out in their music. And, I can often hear when sort of someone plays and I think, I'm not sure I would, that person would have a personality that I would want to, like, I don't know that I'd want to really hang out with that person a lot or whatever. Yeah. Not that I think they're a jerk, just like, for instance, phrasing, which, the zabaduda, dabaduba, babaduda, instead of that last one, I'm going to run out of breath. Thankfully, vocalists have to breathe, so they have built-in phrasing. Guitarists are, especially in this town, man, shut up. Stop playing. People have no idea that if they stop playing, they'll actually be better received. Their music will make more sense to people. So, I mean, that relates to what kind of a person and a personality you have, I think, or what kind of mood you're in, right?
Yeah.
And so academia has, I say that because the last few years I've taken advantage of travel opportunities, and I've taught in Korea and South Africa, in Ireland years ago. And whenever I get a chance to go somewhere else and teach, that's great. That's great. And I'll be the first to say it's less about the music. And I'm always telling the students, like, hey, why don't you guys, we'll cancel class today. You can go to the Arc de Triomphe or whatever, like that's more important than learning about Beethoven today. You're somewhere interesting. I guess suffice to say, I think travel is just so important.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, just experiencing different cultures and a different way of living is so important. I mean, just, to be able to keep developing and growing as a human. I know that you said, like, when you do that, when you travel, that it's not so much about the music, that it's more about the experience, but it's got to impact the music and the students' pursuit of it. How would you say it does?
Yeah, absolutely. No, but that's just it. Like that, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that everything impacts the music.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of what Charlie Hayden, I think, was saying when he said that about taking a walk in the woods. It's like, you want to be a good musician, be a good person. And I guess there are people who lack a conscience, maybe, who can be a bad person and go on and do great art. You know, we know this about Richard Wagner and Picasso and others who are notoriously, you know, but,
Yeah.
and yet, you know, we love their art. So it's not an absolute. I don't believe in absolutes, really. But I think, you know, quite often, if you're at peace with yourself, you're going to make better art. And you know, you have to be confident enough to put yourself out there, obviously, and you have to be, yeah, I don't know. I'm in an interesting place because I don't feel the need to like promote or produce content or whatever, but I play all the time. You know, I tell people, like, you want to hear me, come to the gig.
Yeah.
Get off the couch, man. You know, like,
Yeah.
I'll be here, you know, come hear me live if you want.
Yeah.
But I don't, it's an interesting time where people are giving their music away for free to the masses, and it's all sort of under the guise of promotion. But I think this is more valid than that. I think the sharing of knowledge and perspectives and, you know, information is very important right now.
Yeah.
But there's so much music out there. So I guess like this, I think, is an appropriate forum for sharing my ideas, some information, some knowledge, whatever. But the music will be much better experienced live, right?
Yeah.
So like, come to the gig.
Yeah.
Not even my gig. Go support Jesus. Mandy Barnett, man. Holy crap. You know, we live in the same town as Victor Krause and Mandy Barnett, and go hear there are some genius musicians in this town. And, you know, every night of the weekend, it's like, oh man, yeah, get off your butts and go hear that. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I don't care about getting out of here, but there's a lot. If you know where to look, there's, you know, this is Music City still, I think, to a certain degree.
Oh yeah. I mean, every time I go to a performance anywhere, it doesn't matter. 9 times out of 10, usually 10 out of 10, it's always an experience I walk away going, wow, like I never would have expected that. And it was always a great performance. I'm turned on to a new songwriter. I learned a story I never knew. I heard music I never heard. It's always great.
Yeah. And it's, you never regret it. You know, you quite often in this town, there are opportunities. A lot of people, you know, complain about cover charge or whatever, but there's plenty of music to go hear for free. Now, you know, I think to a certain extent you do get what you pay for. And, you know, if you're like, I mentioned Victor Krause, he plays with his group at Rudy's on the regular. And if it's a $10 cover or whatever, I mean, that's nothing. Don't even think about it. My buddy Jay Weaver, who was one of my first sort of touchstones in town, he was Dolly Parton's bass player for years. And we worked together with Raul Malo for 3 or 4 years. And Jay is always, he's adamant about this. He'll say, pay the cover. Because everybody wants to be guest listed in this town, you know?
Yep.
Hey, can you put me on the list, dude? No, but I'll see you at the gig. Pay the cover, you know? Pay the cover.
Pay the cover. Go to the gig.
Put money in the musicians' pockets.
Yeah. Yeah. And because that's how a lot of musicians thrive. I mean, you know, buy the music on iTunes, pay the cover charge. You know, you have a whole life outside of music, you know, which is something that not a lot of people can really say. You know, like you're a dad, you work full time, you gig, you write, you release songs. Considering everything that you're juggling, do you think that your best songs come out of discipline in your routine or waiting for the inspiration?
I mean, my writing is very piecemeal right now. I work on stuff over a long period of time. Stuff is usually just kind of percolating behind the scenes, and then it'll come back to life if I come up with, it's like, oh, that would be a great verse for, you know, song number 372 in the unfinished file back here in the medulla oblongata or whatever it is. I stuff just kind of limps along, but but yes, life definitely informs the music. I mean, one of the songs I'm working on right now is about diving, and just I'm trying to capture the sensation of being underwater. Which have you ever dived before? Like
I
scuba
mean,
diving?
no, no,
Okay.
not deep sea.
But when if you're swimming and you swim underwater and you're 3 feet underwater and you swim for 20 feet, it feels really good. Like the outside world is like
Yeah.
far away, right?
Yeah.
And so when you get down to even like 5 meters, when you go down to 15 feet, all of a sudden you're just like, man, I got about 45 minutes of bliss. And it really is that. I'm not thinking about politics, family dynamics. I'll think like fond thoughts of my daughter or whatever, like, things that are happy, and those things go through my mind. But somehow just all the strife and the negativity just goes out the window, man. Especially if it's like warm water. You're just it's like a sensory isolation tank. You're floating. I mean, there's nothing better. So that's a song that's been kind of cooking back there for a while, and will probably not get written for another 5 years. But yeah, life. Do you know the songwriter Ron Sexsmith?
No.
He's a real one. I mean, utterly real. And he writes about anything. One of his songs is called "Pretty Little Cemetery," and it's a song about a pretty little cemetery. I mean, and it's always a great song, and his melodies are amazing. So I'm a firm believer. I did songwriting workshops years ago at the National Guitar Workshop with R.L. Castleman, Robert Lee Castleman, who wrote a bunch of stuff for Alison Krauss.
Yeah.
And he was very adamant. He would say things like, "Oh man, you write about anything. What do you write about, R.L.? You write about anything." And this guy would go to coffee shops and just eavesdrop. He would like sit in the corner with his hat on and just listen to conversations. And he'd be like, "Oh man, that's fascinating. Here we go."
Oh, well, that's kind of cool.
I mean, it's kind of creepy, but it's kind of cool,
Yeah. Yeah. Listening to other people's conversations, but also
it's like, how'd you write that song, Ara? Yeah, I was eavesdropping. I'm a peeping Tom. Yeah. No. Oh God. Yeah. No. But I mean, you write about anything, and I'm teaching. This is really slaying me. I had my first week on at this facility yesterday, but I'm doing 7 sessions at a recovery facility for young people teaching songwriting. And it was the same thing. It's like a lot of what they listen to is rap and hip hop, and the subject matter is limited. And it's what rap and hip hop songs are traditionally written about, sex, money, guns, whatever.
Yeah.
And I kept asking these students, like, what do you want to write about? I don't know, sex, money, guns. And I was really trying to get them to embrace the idea that, you can also write about like what you just had for lunch. That chicken teriyaki, man, that was slamming. Maybe it's not song worthy, but maybe it is.
Yeah.
And in the right hands. I mean, I wrote a song called "Leftover Indian Food," which is about leftover Indian food. Who knew?
Well, I'm like really looking forward to how that song about diving turns out, because to be honest, I feel like you kind of touched on something. Like when you're submersed, the outside world is just muffled and like, just thousands of echoes away.
So good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just like, I'm like the furthest from, I'm such a pragmatist. Like I would never be like suicidal or anything, but like, give me an opportunity to get away from the world.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I'm
all in. And that is it. When there's good visibility and you drop down, even if there's nothing to see and you're just looking around and it's blue.
Yeah.
Just, man, nothing better.
Well, you have so much to offer students and other musicians. being an educator and being able to like go to these different spaces like this rehab that you're working in now, you give back so much to other communities of artists and musicians. But what's something that you've learned from working with other artists? Like, you kind of briefly touched on something we talked about before, how you worked with two people that ended up going on to create the band Fuel. I mean, you've worked with a lot of really like established people in the music industry. Like, what would you say is probably the best lesson you've learned, or like your biggest takeaway?
I mean, there's so many of them. Greg Yazaniski, the guy at Washington State, had so many great one-liners. One of the things he used to say to me was, "You only need as much technique as you think you need," which, I mean, that just kind of sets you free.
Yeah.
It's the idea that if you can learn to work within your limitations, that's where you reside. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people are, to their credit, perhaps, always striving for something, fresher or newer or whatever, and they're going for it.
Yeah.
But if they don't succeed, then sometimes that may kind of, that may cause their artistic statement to be less than or whatever. So I love that. I don't know, man. There's so much. Raul Malo, with his passing 3 or 4 months ago, 6 months ago, I was reminded of a lot of the things. We used to sit in the front lounge on the bus, and I remember him saying to me one time, "Life gives you clues." I'm gonna. It's kind of hitting me here because I'm thinking about this, and it's so true. And I should have listened to it at different junctures, but he used to say, "Life gives you clues," and if you're smart, you pay attention. And I did a session with his son a couple of months ago, and I said, "Man, your dad slayed me a couple of times." And one of the things, and he was just nodding, and he was like, "Yeah." And Dino had talked about what a loss losing his dad was, and I'm sure, because his dad had some heavy stuff, man. We talked about singing, and I've studied voice, and I guess I've got some chops or understanding of the technique, but Raul said some things to me that were so, and we're talking about one of the greatest pop voices of all time, really, according to Roy Orbison and many others.
Yeah.
And he would talk about the position of the tongue in the mouth and stuff like that. So I've gathered a lot of sort of technical guidance and information and stuff, but the philosophical stuff is really, and it just, at the end of the day, I think it's kind of easy. It's just like, focus on being a good person, focus on being a good servant, focus on being a good parent.
Yeah.
And along the way, focus on being a good musician. But that last technical part, if you're in a good place, I think the music will reflect that, and it will have a positive vibe. There's a jazz pianist named Kenny Werner, if you know his name, and he wrote a book called Effortless Mastery. And a lot of what he talks about is just like, what are you thinking about when you're playing? And he's like, "Oh, I'm thinking, I'm so happy. This feels so good. I sound so good," and it's not cocky. It's just like, everything is great.
Yeah.
You're just, and I guess another thing Greg Yazaniski said to me, though, which is true, it kind of dismantles this approach. He said, "If it doesn't sound good, it's no fun."
Yeah.
and like, truer words, man.
Yeah.
Truer words. So true. I do think that, there are a lot of people out there playing music that objectively doesn't sound that good, but man, they're having fun. Maybe, I don't know, they don't even know it doesn't sound good, so maybe they're still having fun. So God bless them, But I mean, yeah, for me, it's just like the times where I felt like the music was in order, I've kind of felt like I've got my other, and I organize. To me, it's like, I think about, daughter, gym, music, coffee, water, air, diving, and it's like, what else? I don't know. I don't even have that many friends because they're precious. And the ones that I do have are musicians, We're going to hang. It's going to be at the gig.
Well, tell us about the newest release, the newest project that you've been working on, and where it was born from.
Well, I'm kind of in the planning stages for something a little bit down the road, and I think it's going to have more of a straight ahead jazz character. But that's just kind of that's being built back here somewhere. But yeah, Settle Down, I did a little while back at Brooke Sutton's studio over on Charlotte, which is called The Studio Nashville. And Matt Rawlings, producer extraordinaire, keyboardist, I mean, everybody. This guy, he produced Keith Urban's breakout record. He was Mary Chapin Carpenter's producer for many, many albums. Blues Traveler recently, many records with Willie Nelson. He won the Grammy for Best Record, for the Sinatra record for Willie. Everybody. I mean, he was with Lyle Lovett for, going on 35 years now. Has been, still is. And Matt can do no wrong. Sits down at the piano. First take is beautiful. The second take is beautiful. The third take is gorgeous. You're like, well, what are we going to keep? and then Victor Krause, Allison's brother, was on bass. Another just funny as hell. Great human. These people are all great humans. John O'Ricks is the drummer for the Wood Brothers, which is a great band and just a funky drummer. So I got these guys together in the studio for a couple of days and we banged out 8 tunes. I just decided okay, I just want to make a record, but I don't need to get into 12 tracks or anything. And, we settle on 8 and I press some LPs and we do 2 jazz standards, God Bless the Child, and a beautiful standard called My Ideal that is really just one of my favorite tunes of all time. And then there were 6 tunes that I wrote, so a couple of which had been recorded before, and I kind of wanted to re-record them. And so I'm still, I still feel like it sounds pretty good. I was certainly happy with the production. Brooke and I co-produced it. Matt, well, I wanted to wear the producer hat, and Brooke was at the console, and it made sense for him to wear the producer hat. Matt is a Midas touch producer. I decided to let him play keyboards on this one, and of course he just did it. And Matt plays his instruments like a producer, so I kind of got a little producer vibe in there, as you do with Matt. Anytime he comes into the studio, his ideas are genius. So he comes up with something and you're like, that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one thing I believe in very strongly. If you want to grow as a player, you got to play with people who are better than you, who challenge you, who are at least as good as you. And these guys, man, it was like, I think I took a 4-hour nap the next day or whatever. I was just like, I'm done. We did tracks and it just it was intense. I mean, these guys are all super chill. But the artistic energy was just amazing. It was a great experience. And pressed some vinyl, got some good feedback from it, some good reviews, and it's still kind of out there. I just, people ask me about it. I say, go listen to it. I also say, if you don't like it, don't listen to it. I'm making music. I have this conversation with people all the time. I'm making music for people who like my music. And I really do appreciate it, though. I really do, Deanna. I tell you, when someone says, oh, listen to your record, it sucked. I hated it. It's the worst thing I've ever heard. My response is, thank you for listening. I mean, it is like pulling teeth to get anyone to listen to anything. I sent I've sent this link to some people in the past and literally just crickets, and it's just like, hey, you don't have to listen to it, but I really appreciate it. And again, I don't expect you to like it.
Yeah.
I just want you to give it a shot, I cannot relate to a lot of the music that a lot of people listen to. and I don't expect a lot of people to like my music, but
Yeah.
I've had people tell me like, hey, it's not really my bag, but it sounded really good. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
that works too.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if it's any consolation, I did listen before we sat down and I did like it.
well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's very diverse. You know, it's an array of styles.
Yeah.
So I do tell people like, yeah, if you don't like the kind of pop banger that it opens with, you know, the next tune is kind of funky. And then there's kind of a ballad on piano, and, you know, and then there's a super funky jazz tune, and it goes different places. So I tell people like, listen through, drop the needle. Okay, this sucks. Next, you know, hit the skip button. Totally cool.
All right. So a couple fun questions to ask you.
Oh.
So if we handed your closest friends a microphone, what would they roast you for?
Oh God. I don't know. You know, mistakes were made the year after my divorce. It's not been a straight line. And I might get some crap for that, you know, just like, oh yeah, man, you know, nice work, Graves. Yeah. You navigated that well. Sarcasm fucked. But I don't know, man. I mean, the people that know me long enough or have known me long enough might, oh God, man, I don't know. I mean, I've done some really stupid stuff. I don't know. I was just kind of a hippie back in my pre-grad school or grad school days. I posted this little story a post the other day about this, the car that I bought for like $280 in Michigan and drove to grad school for the Interlochen Center for the Arts. Yeah, I went to a Fred Meyer store and bought a car for $280, and the guy's testing it, you know, and the brakes are going to the floor. He's like, oh, sometimes it does that. It's like, okay. And painted it sky blue with white clouds, and drove it across the country and picked up a hitchhiker and his dog. And we got to Montana, and some guy wanted to come with us. I mean, it was crazy. I need to write a screenplay about this someday.
Well, and you're here to tell the story. So
that's why I'm hanging out, Deanna. Just there's some stories that need to be told. So those who remember the chapters like that would probably be like, remember that time, you know?
Wow.
Yeah. I'm a redneck. I mean, we grew up in a small town in West Tennessee where we used to go sit on these pylon or these like columns that held up the overpass. And, you know, between the columns of an overpass, you have this wall, this concrete wall. It's about that wide, and it's about 8 feet tall. And in this case, it ran alongside the railroad tracks. And so we would go at 2 a.m. and like sit next to the Amtrak train as it went by at 80 miles an hour, 2 feet away. And it's, you know, none of us died.
Oh my God.
We called it Amtrakking. This is what happens when you grow up in a small town and, you know, you're bored. Yeah. So there are plenty of, man, I could go on and on. I think I've probably practiced more adult behavior with certain chapters, you know, accepted since I've been here in Nashville. So a lot of the 2 or 3 close friends that I have here have plenty to roast me about, but the old friends, they know where all the bodies are buried. I mean, it's, it's pretty amazing. I look at myself and a couple of close friends and wonder how the hell we ever got out of West Tennessee.
I feel like at some point in our lives, we all kind of look back and go,
wow,
probably shouldn't have made it through that.
What was I thinking? Yeah.
All right. Next.
Where are you from again, Deanna?
Oh, small town in New Jersey, South Jersey, middle of nowhere. I mean, it's right outside of Philadelphia, so it's not remote, but it's close enough to like the Pine Barrens that it's considered like the sticks, you know? So small town girl. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good place to grow up. And then the trick is getting out and not going back,
Yeah, 100%. All right. So speaking of thinking about your younger self, what would present day Ben tell like 21-year-old Ben?
Practice. Don't quit the piano.
Yeah. Damn it. My mom's going to love that one. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Practice, more. No, I don't know. I've always pursued creative avenues as they become available to me. And, my dad used to say, focus, son. And I find myself telling my daughter that. And so, yeah, I think that's a good thing. And nobody's focusing now. I mean, it's precious few people. You can tell, the 8-year-old who's playing the crap out of the piano, she's focusing, they're focusing. But a lot of people are just really scattered and distracted, and it's really hard to find people that are zeroed in. And I count myself lucky as having grown up in an era that allowed me more or fewer distractions, I remember, stuffing myself into my room and practicing Charlie Parker solos on my saxophone in high school. And I don't really remember wanting to go do something else, I mean, maybe at like midnight when I snuck out of the house, but until then, I was content to practice.
Until then, you were focused.
Exactly. Yes. And then I was focused on sneaking out. So.
Yeah. Okay. Last one for you. If someone were to move to Nashville tomorrow to pursue their career in music, what advice would you have?
Easy. Diversify. Unless you're coming in here and you are already an established practitioner of your craft, like in a sort of specialized way, if you're a Nate Smith and you play funky drums better than anybody else on the planet, then you come to town and be Nate Smith. But if you're 20-something that's just trying to get a bunch of stuff going on, I would say put out as many, cast your bread on the water, as they say, and cast as many slices, sorry, forget the metaphor, throw as many slices as you can out there in as many different directions. If you have any academic pedigree, get out there and try to find some teaching work. It will supplement. Everybody's teaching now. It's funny to me, people that shouldn't be teaching in this town are teaching. It's like there's no stigma about being an educator. I think it's funny. People are like, oh, this pays, so they do it. But I mean, whatever you got to do to get by, man, join that wedding band, learn some classical pieces. You're a guitar player, you need a Telecaster, but also maybe like a small jazz guitar so that you can masquerade as a jazz player or something, do as many versions of yourself as you can come up with. As was told to me when I first moved here by the great John Knowles, he's kind of a guru of guitar in this town. He was Chet Atkins' right-hand man. They were thick as thieves, And John said when I moved to town, he said, this town will cast you in the role that it sees you as being most suited for. And he was like, you watch, it'll happen. And for me, that was being a sax player. Like I had said, no, I'm here to be a singer-songwriter guitar player. And then somehow Raul heard me play saxophone. He's like, man, you're a great sax player. Why don't you come play sax with me? And I said, okay. And then 4 years went by. And I had been looking over here, and all of a sudden I was over here, and I thought about what John said. So you got to be careful because opportunities will arise and you'll get distracted. And conversely, the other side of this that I would give people advice about is like, there's never been a better time to be you, to be the artist that you are. But if you're trying to come to town and not work at Applebee's, which is fine too. But if you want to do all music, then start the shotgun approach. Now, if you just want to be an artist, then get a gig at Applebee's. and be
Yeah.
you, because I hate to tell people this, but being you will not prove remunerative for some time. You'll have to wait for that to become, and that's a great path. If you're an artist, then don't compromise, but if you're trying to work, if you're fresh out of Berkeley, yeah, go teach, go try and get gigs in a pit at TPAC. Go to Lower Broad, go wherever you can get a gig and learn. So yeah, but everybody's situation is different, and there's absolutely no judgment. I have the utmost respect for people who are doing anything and trying to be an artist, on the side or behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, by all means, if you're a server or whatever you're doing, but your real dream is to do this or that, that's beautiful. That's great.
Yeah.
Stick it out. Be true to yourself. A lot of the artists that I see that are young here, they don't really have the guitar facility to do other things on guitar. They're not session vocalists, but they're just pursuing the artist thing. They're writing and they're playing the material and they're getting it out there. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
But I think if you have the means to try and go make supplementary income in this town, it's a good way to do it.
Great advice. Ben, you've spent your career like not only creating music for yourself and other people, but like helping to, I don't know, shape the sound of like so many other artists as well along the way. And I just appreciate you taking the time to sit down and, like take us behind the scenes on some of these experiences and your journey and what brought you here today. So thank you.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you having me. And
yeah,
you just, you pull the cord on my back and I will talk. And I will not stop talking. So I'm here if you need me.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure.
Always fun, Deanna. See you next time. Take care.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of What Made You. Follow the podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to see exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and teasers of upcoming guests at What Made You Podcast.